Everybody's asking me about the enchiladas, so I figured I'd make them, and I'll make a list of the ingredients, and you can put it together. I did a little prep work, like I already shredded the chicken right here, the cheese, I shredded the cheese, and then I diced up the onion. Keep the chicken moist when it's in the enchiladas. We're gonna add 1/4 cup to 2 pounds, roughly 2.5 pounds of the shredded chicken. So you could tell it's already diced up. And I have Michelle here as my assistant. She's gonna be warming up the tortillas. While we do that, I think we have a little bit of time. Depending on how much chicken you have, just go ahead and mix it in. Sometimes I just use my hands and then I'll just wash it. Whatever it is, here it is. Mix it up, have it ready to go. And you know, with rotisserie chicken, it's already salted and it's already seasoned, so you don't have to worry about any of that with the chicken outside of the yogurt. Turning on the oven, and I wanna say like medium high. And I'm gonna start with 2 tablespoons of olive oil for the sauce. And I'm actually just gonna use the powder today. I'm not gonna make the chili pods because I'm gonna make it easier for you guys. And I'm also starting out with the shredded chicken. So I use rotisserie chicken, another step saver. This is my comfort food that I've turned into healthy food. Everybody asks me about that because I still love to, I love to eat. You all know I love to eat and I love to work out. I'm gonna have to love to work out if I'm gonna eat as much as I do. And then we'll add 2 tablespoons of the flour, roughly. I put it into the oil, the already warmed up oil. There we go. And then I'll mix it up, nice and toasted. And I've gathered my dry ingredients already in little Tupperware here. So I have 2 tablespoons of chili powder, whatever you have there. 2 tablespoons, gonna be very flavorful. These are Oaxacan Enchiladas is what we are making today. 2 tablespoons of paprika or less. It just kind of depends on how much flavor you have. And I'm toasting it. And while it toasts, you can kind of smell the, it's kind of cooking up the chili powder and the flour. So you kind of want to make sure that the flour gets thick. It's going to kind of bind everything together. And then I put 2 tablespoons of cumin. 2 tablespoons of onion powder and garlic powder. Cinnamon. Add the wet ingredients, which is 2 cups of better than bouillon. There we go. Broth, I might add another 2 depending on how thick it comes out. And then the wet ingredients is going to be 1 tablespoon or 1 teaspoon of peanut butter, 1 teaspoon of tahini, 2 teaspoons of the better than bouillon, that was just the water, and half a teaspoon of vanilla, and then 1/4 of a tablet of abuelita's chocolate. You can also use regular chocolate. You don't have to use. So that doesn't have to be. Yeah,
very cool mixture.
And it's very easy. When you don't have to cook the chili pods just taste better, but this is just as good. And it saves you a lot of steps with having to de-seed, and remember, like, you can't tell how spicy they are, and sometimes Matt's like, it's too spicy for the kids. And so it's easy to use the powder because it doesn't have to be that thick. And while this is nice and thickening up a little bit here, I'm gonna add 2 more cups of the meaty enchiladas. There we go. Nice and thick. And as that's cooking, I am going to cook the onions. You can put the onions in there raw, but my family does not like raw onions. They like them cooked. Get this kind of way to sneak it in there. Mellows them out. So I'm gonna start getting that together. I'll just put it on medium.
So if you don't pre-cook them, it would just be a little more intense.
Yes, just to be a little bit more intense of a flavor, right? Yes, since this is cooking, I'm gonna put a tablespoon of olive oil. Go from there. It's not too hot, which is kind of surprising because the other one turned on super hot, quick. But I'll turn it up right here. So I'm gonna add half of the onion, and I added 2 cloves of garlic here. And while that's cooking, I'm gonna mix up my chicken, and then I'm gonna turn. What's that? I start with that. If you want them a little sweeter, which in Oaxaca they're very flavorful, you can add 2. But I just put 1 in for the flavor. And it adds a little bit of sweetness. And if you do the regular powdered baking chocolate, which you totally can too, you just add like 3 dates and just soften. Just add a little sweetness to it. Or raisins, whatever you have. And here's the difference between cooking and prepping. I've shown you a lot about like prepping food, getting everything together, having it in Tupperwares. This is cooking. So like more for flavor, more for a good meal, and for comfort food to keep you from going to a fast food restaurant. Right. The pan, as I cook them, gotta make sure we get all the lumps out of here too, so I have to. And so it's good to maybe not use a non-stick pan, so you can use one of these or use a rubberized. Good. This is where I'm forgetting the name. What is the name of this? Remember Nancy was talking about the whisk, so you get all those lumps out. And just, you could see it just thicken up, and it's super delicious. It's kind of foaming at the side a little bit. All the flavors are coming together. Just delicious. You're gonna have so much sauce, but sometimes it's easy. It's better to have a lot of sauce and have them more moist and a little bit more wet than to have them dry. That's why I use 2, like a quarter of a cup of the yogurt, just to kind of mix everything up.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. Because you can tell when it's dry, like you can't see those. Whatever is extra in a baggie and freeze it. So next time you do it, you don't have to go through this process. You already have a base. And again, I'm going to add 2 more cups of the broth because it looks like it's making nice. I'm glad we used this bigger one too. And then we'll mix this up. And as that's cooking, cup to 2 pounds, I think I'm going to add a quarter more of the Greek yogurt because there's a lot of chicken. I just use like a rotisserie chicken from Costco, and I'm going to shred it even more so right here.
So what's your favorite way to warm up?
Just like that, like in a pan with a little bit of olive oil. Just comes out so good. But these are ready to go, and I might even, you could measure. I like my enchiladas a little bit more meaty, but I usually measure like a handful or a quarter of a cup.
That seems like a magic.
Yes, and you can just write all these, throw these ingredients in to MyFitnessPal. It'll give you the breakdown of the calories, which is, you know, very little compared to whatever they make a lot. Mm-hmm. And you're not using as much oil and all these things. 3 tablespoons for like, you know, 24 or whatever it's going to make. 30. Really you want to get them soft so that they can wrap a little bit easier. And I know my nephew's so cute, Vincent, did it in a way where he just laid out the tortillas, put the chicken or the ground beef, laid out more tortillas, put the chicken, so it didn't roll. I like to roll, but you can also do it that way too.
So he sandwich them?
He just sandwiched them, layered them like a casserole.
Oh,
yeah, it was really cool.
Good idea. It's like an enchilada lasagna.
Yeah, exactly, like an enchilada casserole, right? So
right, that's what it is.
Yeah, we're Mexican American. Come on, we adapt. All right, and then I'm going to turn this box. It's ready. See how creamy it is on top, and that's going to cool down, especially so my fingers don't burn because I'm going to dip. And I'll use like, you know, maybe some tongs or maybe not. It just kind of depends on how I'm going to roll them in. And I'm just going to get these translucent a little bit with a little bit of the garlic. Love garlic. I don't think you can put enough garlic, so if you don't like garlic, don't put it in there. And then
while you're keeping these warm, you can stack them.
Yeah, you can stack them on top of each other and then put a plate, and I'm gonna give it a little taste, and then I'll add the salt. Because sometimes when you put the batter with bouillon, it's a little salty. Yeah, so I'll add a little bit of the salt, maybe not as much, but I'll add a little salt and pepper, and then get that mixed up. Get half of that, so like a quarter of a teaspoon here. And then I'll mix it in and see how the flavor is. And then I'm gonna start assembling them. You also want to preheat the oven at like 350, perfect. And then we'll throw them in there for like 15 minutes to get them to like cook and come together. And that's it. It's lovely. Okay. Okay. Down. And then I am going to grab the roll. And it's nice if you have one that has a top like that. Then you could like put it on there. For sure. Yes. I know, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this to the side. I'm going to keep an eye on my onions. Maybe I'll make some with fresh ones. And I think I'll throw the other half in there because they do shrink back too. And whatever you have extra, just put it away in a Tupperware. You can use it for like eggs or whatever else you decide to cook, like an isol or something that has the onions as like a base. And you're right, it does like soften the taste of any cooked onions. Last time they couldn't tell I had put onions in there. Oh wow, so I was like, I find that good balance. I know, and my family doesn't eat as much veggies as I do, so I have to sneak it in sometimes. Good for your immune system. Good for cooking a nice big kitchen. My kitchen is not big, not like this. This is so perfect. This is what we do. I know. So we dip it, bring it across, and then we do a little bit of the onions and a little bit of the cheese, white cheese. But I usually use Cotija. You don't have to do that much, and a little bit of the mild cheddar, and throw it in there, and roll it up. Here's your one. This is how you just go.
Soak it.
Yes, you kind of, and then you add the sauce on top to make it, a little bit more moist.
And then you dump it up on the one before.
Yep, and it just kind of stays there. And they come together. They're easy to serve. So mine are very meaty. You can't tell. Very yummy. Sophia in the back.
We're gonna need some help.
Okay, what happened?
I saw
Sophia,
this,
y'all know I'm a mom, and I got kids.
Can you help me get through?
Keep it together.
Actually.
Over on the back, honey. All right. Do that as well. And clean up as they bake, so you have enough time. And I cook and put the dishes in water so they're kind of already ready. And that's okay. And if you prop them up next to each other, they'll tend to stay. Yep. Which is
Hard
easy.
part.
Yes, I know.
Get into a rhythm.
Yeah, it just gets easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I might be able to get another 3 in here, so maybe 10. And you don't really need a ton of the cheese because it's got the sauce has so much flavor. They're just fun to make them like at least once a month. Just because it does take a little bit of time, but if I have the sauce, I'll make it easier.
And I will say, your nephew's enchilada, I've done that with the green enchilada.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
It does. The time down.
Yes, it cuts the time down because you don't have to do any of this assembly. That's the only difference.
Yep.
But then this, around how much you're having,
That's true.
So that's the difference.
So if you don't have a top, would you put tinfoil on?
Yeah, if you don't have a top, just put tinfoil on
It's in the drawer
here, and you are good to go. And so about 10 in this one. Usually it's about 8 in my pan at home. Yeah, so like 1, 2. So just pour the sauce over, because remember, you don't want them too dry. You'd rather have them a little bit more on the wet side. They're enchiladas. Enchiladas are wet. The burritos are dry. And some people, like my neighbor, makes them with flour tortilla, which I was trying to get in here. It just smells so good. You can't help it to get in here. So you can tell how much sauce I probably like a cup and a half, you know. And you can also add some salt to the chicken. I put that on the recipe because I'm doing a lot more. Then I'll put a little bit of the cheese on top, these 2 handfuls, which I gotta tell you, isn't that much. It's like, not even an ounce, because I actually measured the hard one before, and we didn't have full cheese here. So I think that'll be good. And then we'll put foil paper. If it doesn't have a top, it works. And then we'll throw them in the oven. There we go. I'll just kind of bundle it up a little bit. Just so it kind of stays, the steam also makes them taste super yummy as well. And then we'll keep assembling as we go. Here. And it's roll. It's not shadow. All right. And then next we have another little square rectangle right here. Perfect. So we'll make some more. If you're going to make them to freeze them, you just assemble them and just throw them in the freezer. Yeah. And then you'll take them out, defrost them, so take them out in the morning and then cook them that night. So that's what I taught you the recipe. And I always prep food, because my family, they're picky. And so I'll prep food from some of the cleanse recipes that we did a while back, and we'll throw them like the soup to go bowls, and I'll freeze them and then eat them the next day. It's the same. I could eat the same thing. Like, it doesn't matter if it's tasty, but it's flavorful. So, I mean, if you're single and you're trying to save time for prepping, that's the way to do it. Because you know you're not going to eat the whole thing. You're just going to eat parts. So freezing. And then busy moms, this is it too. If you want to have good food, it's nice to be able to freeze and then have some later on. And know that you're going to have a good meal that night. So it's going to keep you on it during the day. Okay? And they're really, when you start making something pretty regularly, you do, these are great gifts for people. They're great, meals for moms that just have a baby and for people. For some of my friends, it's easier. We'll come back to you and show you the finished product. Okay, in a little bit. Okay, so they're ready to go. And here are the delicious enchiladas. Product is right here, and it's nice and saucy, and we're gonna taste them right now. Just a second, so. Yes, we could. We love cooking in this kitchen. Yes. All right, this did get a little messy because I had a hard time getting it out. But here we go. Okay? Buen provecho. Mm. And we found some shrimp over here. So we actually made the rest. So there's 15 in the oven right now with just shrimp. And it's so much easier. I just cooked it with the onions, threw them in there, put the rest of the sauce, and finished up. Thank you. So enjoy, have fun, taste your food, enjoy your flavor. Like this is the way to hang out with friends and have on a rainy day and just really be here and enjoy it instead of just being in a hurry and being in a rush. Like really just be able to have this conversation and good food and perfect. Okay? Hasta luego, mi gente.